It's about niks, Mary. I'm still here in this B. Okay, let's start out this interview fast.
We have got to the point.
Maar let's see about the Please hope you subscribe, and I hope you also love what I'm about to watch. Before you try, I'm eating food. Labona fethu ke lamb mutton. You feel me? It's very soft. Mm-mm.
What do you think will happen to the EFF? Do you think it can survive?
I don't think the EFF will survive even if it's not sentenced by the
Okay.
real or toy guns. If it's a toy gun, is even worse.
Yeah.
When I then took that decision, he says that no, I actually want to announce you as the president of Mkonto Isizwe.
Oh wow.
Like when here in an hotel, and I refused.
Yeah,
and then
sentenced.
I said never. The criminal cartel starts to demarcate spheres of crime in South Africa, where they say for drugs, this group is responsible for the Prophet Bushiri is confronted with in South Africa. Law enforcement agencies must deal with that. I'm not a law enforcement agency.
You can tell a lot about what a man is by the woman they met.
I think those are subjective views. Those are subjective views that you will.
And who's this blue married to?
So Penduka, our guest today is a man who wears many faces. A man of many faces. Remember from Game of Thrones?
Yeah, so and of many colors.
Yeah.
Yes.
One day you could have an ANC face,
Yes.
an EFF face,
Yes.
MK face.
Yes.
Next week it might be the Secretary General of the DA. You never know. You never.
That's why the Bible says trust.
Floyd Shivambo. My clients. My clients.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
I don't have a wife.
Oh, what is she to you? Is it not your wife's?
I know Lona Mas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know her?
That face looks like Brody's chopping man. But that face.
Know of her,
Uh-huh.
and I know that she's a private chef, and
Bro, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
so that is so. So if there was or there is any relationship between me and her,
Yeah.
it's private. And
Why is that?
political leader, whenever you get a space to speak publicly, you must speak about politics. You must not abuse it for anything else. Issues of the public. So that's basically, I don't ever talk, so there's no one who can conclusively say who I'm. It's my private life.
But Brody's chopping
And
there.
I keep it that way, and I prefer.
But don't you think it's a bit disingenuous? Because you've got a private life, right?
Yes.
But you want to serve the people. Your interest is to serve the public, right?
Yes.
So if
everything else that has to do with public resources is public information. So I'll never hide my political views.
But us as the public, if we want to know that, is that not disingenuous?
The issue of who shares private spaces with is private. It's not an issue for public consumption. And of course, the political leaders who feel like they must go and display their life in public. I don't do that. I also think that it's important to protect partners or spouses and children as well. Like there's a lot of stigma, more so on children, if they are your children and everything else. Like, we live in limit them to say whatever they want to say about you, about anyone, without wondering whether the child is going to come and say at home that my teacher was speaking bad about you and everything else. So I live a private life, and I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
And private doesn't mean secret. Yeah.
It sounds secret.
It
No,
does.
it's
It
not.
does.
You see,
It's not the same.
It sounds like bro is trying in secret, and he doesn't want us to disturb him.
my
It's
thing
not the
is,
same. It's not the same. I live a private life and it's not secret. So I don't go around hiding and not do what I have to do. I do what I have to do, but everything else that I do is private. That is why I've been in a public space for a relatively long time now. First, uh, since I was in university, I was a national leader, I was SRC president, and everything else there. But I've never been an instance where people say we're going to Floyd's party or there's a group which is hosted by Floyd. I don't work like that. I speak what is important in the public space, and that is my character, and I prefer to keep it that way.
You're saying Pinduka?
no, I was saying, I
Yes.
think I get that you don't want to be a celebrity, but unlike with maybe some people want to be able to trust you, and some people hold family values maybe close and will feel like they want to know your stance and your actual real life
100%.
family situation to say if that man can lead us in the union buildings, can he even lead his own family? Does he have a family?
So Saul is cooking with the questions, because like, we need to see your bed. See, you can't just hide your
Because
bed.
you can tell
You
a
can
lot.
protect the kids, but some people want that,
Because you can
from
tell a lot
leader.
about what a man is by the man, the woman they marry.
Yeah, for example,
Yes.
you see, so some people will.
I think those are
that look.
subjective views. Those are subjective views that you hold. By my view, I think that political leaders must be gauged by what they stand for and their principles and values.
But that's part of
It's
it.
family values.
It's family values, bro.
My boy,
You know how I feel now. I'm like, boy, please make this guy drink some of that chiller's punch and some grandeur. You'll take out the sugar.
African family values.
I think that is a reductionist view, by the way.
Mhm.
So politicians must be gauged as to what political views ideologically and in terms of policy do you stand for, and are able to turn those policy views into action.
But
That should be the only gauge. Anything else is just showmanship.
But you can't hide behind your policy.
Because
bro.
do you know what then gets to happen is that the public end up being duped by people who otherwise are not supposed to be in the political space, are just supposed to be entertainers. And they end up believing that this is a political something else in private and everything else there. So my principled position, which I think must be respected by everyone, is that I keep my life private in terms of what I do privately. And then everything always advocate that if you're a political leader on issues that relate to business and issues that relate to relationships and politically, whatever you do and say in private, you must be able to own up in public. That is my principled stance in terms of it. But on areas which involve other people,
Check this on, child. That's the way I eat. It's too good. That's why.
I don't think that it's appropriate to want to talk about the lives of.
I hear what you're saying, right?
of
And
other
for me, right?
Yes.
I feel like it makes you unrelatable. In
No.
terms of like you can't. I mean, everyone's got policies, right? But in this day and age, people vote for someone who they can relate to. That like when you see someone who's running for office, it's like, oh, okay, this guy does this X, Y, Z. I can relate to him. And then the policies are just an afterthought because everybody has policies. You get what I'm saying? But it's more about, oh, I can relate
So
to this
even
guy.
in relation to that, I've got a different view as well.
Okay, what is
So,
that? What is that?
Organizations. I'm not a fan of hyper-presidentialism. There's a phenomenon which almost defines almost all societies and is very dangerous to politics, by the way, where the subjective position or positioning of a political leader determines everything else. I'll give you an example that the private views of President Mbeki when he was head of state on HIV/AIDS, and when President Zuma was the head of state, his personal relationships with the Guptas ended up guiding what a lot of state departments do in relation to the Guptas. President Cyril Ramaphosa is head of state now. His association or affinity with the white capitalist establishment makes everyone else to think that they must tiptoe around the white capitalist establishment. And it's worse, there's extreme cases where the private views of a head
But we can't act like that thing is not true, bro.
of state in America just leads to even a war which is not justified, which no one can ever justify. I think politics must always be collective action. I don't believe in a hyper-presidentialism where
Floyd, we just asked you who you're dating. That's it, bro.
No,
Politics.
no.
Damn, man.
Hyper-presidentialism.
I'm trying to move away
I'm trying to hide away from the question. That's what you're trying to do, buddy.
from that because I think you want to have not in a public platform. If you want to ask me after this interview,
But that's why you're getting it wrong.
Asi, giving away with free shirts. But besides that, Asi, giving away with free shirts. But besides that, you don't know anything, chief.
Okay, Ghost
not
Lady,
yet, because
what's your take as a woman?
Let's
Let's hear Ghost Lady's take. What's your take as a woman?
Here I'm talking to you. Yes, let me listen here.
Okay.
Currently, I'm not married, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not married. I was married for a very short period of time, and even that was not public marriage. It didn't go, I think it was between 2017 and 2018. And then that marriage was discontinued for one reason or another. And marriage was discontinued for one reason or another.
The new one.
Discontinued.
And then I
Speaking on divorce is kind of crazy, or discontinued. Why don't you just say divorce, chief? We understand that you're a politician, but yo, come on, bro. Dumb it down so we understand.
The new one.
2017 and 2018. And then that marriage was discontinued for one reason or another.
The new one.
Discontinued.
The new one.
And then I
So one thing I really wanted to know, what
Mark, Diamond, you look to me. Smile.
Oh, so I know Prophet Bushiri for a very long time, by the way. I think from 2010 or something like that. I don't know when he came to South Africa, but I know him for a very long time. So on the 21st of March, I went to the inauguration of the president of Namibia. They call it Triple N, like the president of Namibia. They call it Triple N, like the very brilliant president of Namibia. President of the then vice president. They were then talking. I was sitting with them and President Zuma in the dinner table after the inauguration.
Hey, this news being happening with Zuma.
And then they were then saying to President Zuma that we are going to elections in Malawi and we are failing to find each other in terms of. And then President Zuma says that no, the Secretary General is here, he must interact with you. Then I used the Easter weekend of 2025 to visit Malawi to meet primarily, I think that is what I've always said, with the political leadership. Then I met with former President Joyce Banda, and then I met with the then Vice President. And then I then interacted with Prophet Bushiri, and then I went to his house. And then we had an interaction. We spoke. He's got views about what happens, and was telling me about the many things that he does in Malawi, building hotels and tourism spaces, sponsoring the national soccer teams, all sorts of things that he does and everything else. Then he says, I'm going to church, and there's a lot of people from South Africa there who are coming to church. He actually said that there is, for that, on his online streaming, there's more than 3 million people who registers into that online church. And more than 1 million is from South Africa. Because
That's
he's got a
great.
huge following. Then he says, no,
Oh, yeah,
let's
he
go to
does.
church. Yeah. No, I'm like, I can go to church. I don't have a problem with Africa. And I've learned to respect all the religious denominations in South Africa. So I've been to the Nazareth Baptist Church Ebuhleni in KwaZulu-Natal, where you take off your shoes. When Unyas Bezulu comes, you must be on your knees. And yes, I've been to the 12th Apostle Church in Christ. I've been to the 12th Apostle Church in Trinity. This Easter weekend, I was in the St. Agnes Zion Christian Church. And afterward, I went to the International Pentecostal Holiness Church that is led by...
Hey, this nigga's on a mission to go to every single church in the world, I'm telling you. Hey, Baba, hey, Baba, hey, Baba. Hey, Baba, this one's gonna go to every church in the world, I'm telling you, Chet.
A comforter, Tsepiso Modise. I also went to Grace Bible Church, had very cordial Rivers of Living Water Ministries, which is led by Archbishop Zondo in Vereeniging. So I interact with a lot of... You have to respect people's religious views,
and what do you
wherever
guys...
they are. And you, if there's one mistake you can ever make as a political leader, is to try to delegitimize any religious denomination. You must know that they're going to doubt you as well, because majority of our people and everything else. And I know that there's law enforcement issues that Prophet Bushiri is confronted with in South Africa. Law enforcement agencies must deal with that. I'm not a law enforcement agency. And that is what it is.
Yeah.
And by the way, Prophet Bushiri is protected by the state in Malawi. Like...
That's how you know these guys are accepting. These guys, hey, these guys are ballers. Hey, what about why? So Bushiri vela banumthara inkosi yethu banosiremala Malawi nekata. Oh, hey,
so government knows how to interact with that. Like, so the government of Malawi protects him in terms of the work that he does there and everything else. And if the South African government wants to pursue him, they know which mechanism to follow in terms of all of those issues. So I did not see anything wrong with that. I've been to many religious denominations, which some I privately think that the theological line might be wrong or might be misinterpretation of the Bible, but I'll never express that because I just have to respect what people believe in. And that is basically how
I get with
everyone. Yes,
I get with the fact that yes, he's a fugitive, and that's up to the police, to get to the bottom of. But you being, because you're not just anyone, you're not just any person.
Saul is like me. Saul is asking the question. He's like inside me, bro. You asking questions. I would also would ask him questions, bro.
Any South African at the time, I think you were representing, whether you like it or not, like you said, Mr. Zuma said, meet with the president and whoever that's sat in Malawi. You're also representing people who vote for a particular political party that you are the leader of.
Lona inside the chat, you guys must say something. You must engage. Don't just watch.
So didn't you think that may come across as not only a personal endorsement for a fugitive, but it might compromise even your party?
No, I went to church. I was going to church. That is what I was doing.
Of a fugitive.
And I don't want to go into the details of the case, and I've got my own views, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to enter into
I just want to know, like, did you debate in your head whether should you go or not?
And you know what? Actually, I don't regret having gone there, by the way.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like, if you have got more than 1 million people in South Africa who are following a church denomination, who are you to want to doubt them? By the way, I will not mention names, by the way. There is leaders of a very large religious streams in South Africa, which have got upward of 3, 4, 5 millions who have got litigations against them, like very heavy litigations against them and everything else, and most of whom were visited, even with President Zuma, like who have got court rulings against them in terms of. But it's like that, like, and who are you to want to judge and everything else there? So
No, I
if
hear
those
that.
people can judge in terms of how they want to judge you, but that is what it is. Like I went to church, and if the law enforcement agencies want to arrest Mr. Bushiri, they must go and arrest him.
All right, can I ask you my question before I forget? Ne?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what is the relationship between politicians and churches, right? Is it just the follow? Are you going there for the numbers of who the church represents? Because you keep mentioning.
Yeah, this guy's he's talking about 1 million. 1 million. Nigga, come on, just because nigga, there's 8 billion people in the world, and you are amazed by 1 million South Africans. Who are you to? Nigga, if Brody did something wrong, South Africa should tell us something about
Church
it.
has 1 million followers. Is that the primary reason
No.
why we see politicians and churches?
No.
And would you not go to a church with 20 people?
Yeah.
You know those on the side of the bridge where they're white. Nah, they don't go there. Politicians don't go there. They always go with the grand churches.
That is not the.
They like mega
That is
churches.
not the. I think. Look, majority of politicians and political parties, by the way, including the ones that I served in and left, like including the ANC, they use churches as electoral platforms, like, and only visit when it's during elections and everything else.
Oh, now you're saying this, but you're also a part of the problem. You're also going to the churches, buddy. You're part of it.
So now, with the organization that I'm leading now, Africa Might Be a Movement, because we went to listen to
Yeah, but South Africa has too many political parties, bro. Then you have this Bruce trying to make another one.
people on the ground before we founded the organization.
I recently needed a temporary phone number for SMS verification, so I decided to give Quacker a shot.
Nah, bro.
A substantial number of the people of South Africa, actually 90% of South African people belong to religious institutions. They are organized already. And majority of submissions from pastors and from even traditional leaders, they were always expressing concern that politicians or political leaders and political parties only come to churches whenever there's a crisis or whenever there's elections. Why don't you find a way of basing yourself within the religious institutions? Because in any way, religious leaders end up being recipients of service delivery concerns and grievances, which were going to be handled by politicians. So when people lose jobs and when people have got a lot of their houses are repossessed, they go and complain to the pastors because there's no councillor, there's no government in sight in majority of times. And they say, why don't you base yourselves with all the religious institutions so that you are able to know what are the concerns of the people? So ourselves now, we do not use church for electoral purposes. We interact with religious institutions. That is why in the entirety of our leadership structures, we always involve.
Yeah, I think you're speaking the truth on that.
Of religious leaders because we deeply and genuinely respect them.
Man,
And of course, I've got my own religious views and perspective as to how I handle certain aspects of life. But generally, I think that the whole of society, if majority of society is organized in religious institutions, as a leader, you must respect them. That is the only thing that you have to do. Leaders must respect the people. Don't superimpose your subjective views on the people. That is basically what it is about.
Man, this is going to be a tough conversation, bro.
Yes, let it be.
Bro, you've been a politician for far too long. He can't talk normally, bro. It's like a robot, dog.
I think he can, man.
bro.
Just know the cameras, not in front of the camera. I think he's just programmed.
But then what is the point?
Surely
Because we just
personally
want a
doesn't speak
genuine
like that.
conversation,
No,
bro.
let's
You got
have
too
the
much political
conversation.
jargon, bro.
Yeah, bro. I feel like this nigga's not gonna answer each and every single question. He's gonna try to dilute everything, bro. He's not gonna tell us the truth, bro. The fact that he doesn't want to tell us who he really is, boy, just says a lot, boy. Like,
It's not jargon.
It's too much,
It's not
Floyd.
jargon.
You know, something like this, chilling with your boys, man, having
ways, bro.
having some
It's not
cocktails.
jargon.
Eh?
It's not jargon. Look, I'm an activist. Like that is what it is. I'm an activist, and I think that in my life of activism, there was a stage, of course, in when you're still learning politics,
Yeah.
right? And then you get huge persuasion about something. Then you feel like your ideological or political views are the only correct ones,
Yeah.
and then you must impose that on society.
Yeah.
And you feel like you must now go and teach society to see the world the way you see it yourself.
Yeah.
But now I've grown to appreciate that.
Sid, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking I might just end this life, then like, another life. Well, I just react to another Sundays. Because like this life is labeled as like Julius, you see. So like, I'm not gonna hide, that was 25 minutes of a whole interview, boy. I'm not gonna dial that. So for now, just hold on to me. I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna go off. But like in a few minutes, trust me, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna react more content. But if this is your first time here, make sure that you subscribe, baby. Road to 700 subscribers. Yeah, we doing that, nigga. Road to 700 subscribers, so make sure that you subscribe, boy. Make sure you subscribe.